This Week in America with Rick Bratton. Issues that matter to you. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network. Great to have you with us on the program. As mentioned, our special guest on the show today, the Possibility Coaches, Jon, Satin, Chris Pattay, the Possibility Coaches, the Possibility Change Expert, specializing in life, friendship, and entrepreneurships. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us.
Great to be here, Rick.
Authors of the book, The Possibility Coaches Guide to Living an Inspired, Empowered, and Joy-Filled Life, 365 Daily Tips to Get You There. We're going to talk about the book in just a second. So many interesting things to talk about. I want to start with something that you talk about, and it's a problem that I think many of us have, and that's how to live life with zero regrets. We all seem to have this rear view mirror, and we just can't seem to let go and focus on going forward. Jon, let me start with you. How is it possible just to sort of have zero regrets, forget about what could have been, and go forward?
That is the only solution to moving forward. And one of the things that Chris and I pride ourselves on in assisting people is that the true indicator of a life well lived is not what happened yesterday or where you are today or where you're going tomorrow. It's the growth that you create for yourself from yesterday to today. And the only way to live like that is to make the choice to let go of regrets. It's that simple. Now, it's not an easy process, but it is that simple.
Well, yeah, you look at that and it's like, life would be better if you had zero regrets. And you're thinking, okay, but how do I actually go about doing that? And you're right, it's sometimes easier to say than actually implement in your life. Chris, a big part of that is forgiveness. We have zero regrets. We blame people. We tend to carry a lot of emotional baggage. Why do you feel forgiveness is so important, once again, to going forward in a positive manner?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, Rick, because I was thinking that as Jon was speaking. And one of the ways to move forward in your life and not have any regrets is to forgive yourself for what you did or didn't do in the past. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you hold on to that anger and resentment, and it prevents you from moving forward. So it's important to forgive yourself and know that you did the best you could at that point in time in your life with the information you had at that point in time. Today, we may do it differently. So it's important to forgive yourself and learn to let go of that.
Please keep in mind as we're talking on the program today that Jon and Chris, the Possibility Coaches, have their breakthrough to the True You weekend. Jon, tell us a little bit about that. That's coming up here very soon, and you've got a lot of people that go into Philadelphia. Very convenient to fly into the airport, stay at the Hilton there, and it's an exciting weekend for everybody.
It is, and this is, Chris and I, something that we're very passionate about, because when we made our own personal transformations over a decade ago, it was the same kind of a venue that Chris and I began this leg of our journey. And developing an understanding of who you truly are, your core, a lot of times takes assistance. And Chris and I have been there, and we have coached hundreds of people, and I would venture to say close to 1,000 at this point, individuals to make that transformation. And that's what this weekend is about. And it sort of it quantifies by coming together with a group of individuals who are seeking the same solution and the same purpose. And that is to be happier, to be more successful, to truly enjoy life to its fullest.
And to take a quantum leap in your life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the agenda, and it does sound like an exciting weekend. Again, it's November 1st through 3rd in Philadelphia, the airport Hilton. So it's close by. You fly in, and basically you're there for the weekend. True You Weekend, trueyouweekend.com is the website. You can also go to the website Possibility Coaches and get information on that. We'll talk about that throughout the program. The book I mentioned is an excellent one, The Possibility Coaches Guide to Living an Inspired, Empowered, and Joy-Filled Life, 365 Daily Tips to Get You There. Chris, I want to start off talking about, I love the book, and tell us how to use the book. It's not really one you sit down and go through in a couple of hours. You really need to do it, I'm assuming, on a daily basis to get the most out of this.
That's the best way to do it. It's definitely not a novel that you read from cover to cover. It's a book of 365 daily tips. So you could either read a tip a day, or most likely people will read a tip a day, but you could start from 1 to 365, or you could just pick open the book, and whatever page you open to is the book or the tip in the book that's meant to be for you for that day. So you read your tip and you contemplate the tip, and at least attempt to apply the tip to your daily life for that particular day.
Jon, it seems so manageable in doing it this way, because I sat down and getting ready for the program and went through a number of these, and I'm thinking, okay, the way to do this is to do it daily. So that day, I'm only focusing on one thing that could improve my life that day, rather than trying to implement, like 20 of them when you read through it at a time. So doing it every day really makes it manageable.
Absolutely. What we tend to do in our lives, Rick, is that we try to elicit change from so many different areas all at once. And we believe that this book gives you purpose, because we have real focus issues in our society today. And one of the great aspects I believe the book gives people is that it allows them to hone in and focus on one qualified positive change in their life, one day at a time.
And the tips are very short and sweet and direct, so they're very easy to read.
Well, and I'm going to go through some of these, and I found some that were like, wow. In fact, I've come up with 365 that were like, wow, these really make a difference here. Release the idea today of having a perfect reputation. So many of us go through life really worried about how people are going to interact, what they're going to say. In fact, we sort of maybe limit expressing our feelings by this fear of what's our reputation going to be if I actually say this. We're not really ourselves most of the time.
Right. What you think about me, Rick, is none of my business.
I know, we love that mantra.
That's what we live by.
Well, it's true. It sounds simple, but it's so true.
It is.
And many times what happens, Rick, is that when we're trying to please other people, we become a people pleaser. And we can also become an angry giver because we're trying to make everybody else happy except ourselves.
The name of the book is Living an Inspired, Empowered, and Joy-Filled Life, 365 Daily Tips to Get You There. Our guest on the program this week in America, Jon Satin, Chris Pattay. The Possibility Coaches, you can get all the information on the book and information on all the services that they offer at possibilitycoaches.com. And I want to mention, and I think one of you alluded to it just a few minutes ago, you're not taking these things as sort of hypotheticals. You actually live these, went through these problems. So these are basically sort of what you put together after you combated some demons in your lives as well.
Absolutely. And in fact, there were more than 365. We had to narrow it down. There was more like about 600 of them. And we picked the 365, which we felt were most suited for the book. And yes, they're absolutely from our own personal experiences in our own personal transformations. Absolutely.
How does it feel when you work with people, and you mentioned probably thousands that you've worked with as the Possibility Coaches, when people come back and say, you know what, you really made a change in my life? That has to be rewarding, that people taking your knowledge and suddenly their life is turned around.
It is.
Yeah, there's no greater gift than having someone else come to you and say to you, thank you, you made a difference in my life, or thank you, you've changed my life, or you've even saved my life. And that's why Jon and I love what we do. We were put here on this planet to do exactly this.
Well, the book is so simple and breaks things down. Here's one that I love. And again, it sounds easy and that I've been thinking about trying to actually implement. Who is living in your head today? The mind is basically a piece of real estate that we control. We alone control that. And we have so many negative thoughts, and we put added pressure and stress on us. And it sounds so simple. It's like, okay, the mind is all mine. I'm going to clear it of things I don't want in there. Talk about that and how we actually go about implementing that, because that just makes so much sense.
Well, one of the keys for me, and I tend to speak from my own personal experience and from clients that I work with, but specifically from my own personal experience, because I believe I've been through so much in terms of transformation. One of the great breakthroughs for me was to realize that my thinking mind and who I am are not the same person. And this was a really key revelation for me, because for 40 plus years of my life, I believed who I thought I was who I was. Now, that may sound like a sort of a riddle. However, the realization was that my thinking mind is my conditioned mind.
And to say it a different way, you are not your thoughts. You
Exactly.
are just the thinker of the thoughts. So at any point in time, you could change your thoughts.
Interesting concept. That's one of the many 365 daily tips to get you there. Chris, here was something that we've talked about this in the program before. One of the tips that you would read for a day is give up being afraid of being happy today. why are we, so many of us, afraid of being happy? We sort of like when we pass out of adolescence, through adolescence, and get out of college or go out and start a career, we sort of give up on dreams and being happy, and it's sort of like we're really not supposed to be happy in life. Why do we avoid that?
And it's true, Rick, because many times we put a limit on our happiness because being happy can feel so foreign to us that when we start to feel happy, it feels uncomfortable actually, because we've been taught throughout our whole childhood and then into our early adulthood is to get real, to get serious, life is serious, and so on. So we just give up the idea of being happy, and then we just wind up being unhappy starts to become the norm for us.
You're listening to This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network. Our guest on the program, the Possibility Coaches, Jon Satin, Chris Pattay. Mentioned before, and information at their website and our website as well about the Breakthrough to the True You weekend, which is being offered November 1st through 3rd at the Airport Hilton in Philadelphia. The book, 365 Daily Tips to Get You There, the Possibility Coaches. I love that. They've worked with individuals as well as groups of people with corporations all across the country, literally changing their lives. One of the tips, take money out of the equation that is your life situation today and put service first. Explain the feeling that you get when actually you sort of like forget the money and let's just do something for somebody else today.
That's the human purpose for everyone. I don't care if you sweep streets or you are the man in the White House. Your purpose is of service. And we are so conditioned, Rick, and I look at my own life, again, going back to my own personal experience, I was so conditioned to put money first. It was all about the money, even growing up, think about it. We're told to get a good education, get a good job, buy a house, buy a nice car. Everything revolves around the need for money. And yes, money in and of itself is a necessity. This is how we exchange and barter services in our society. But when it becomes controlling and we give our power to it, we live our life basically like I use the metaphor, the proverbial horse that's always chasing the carrot. It never seems to be enough. Flip that around, and when you put service first, I know from myself and watching others do the same, it really is so gratifying. There's nothing that can fill a void within us like giving service.
Well, and it's interesting because sometimes you see people that have a lot of money and you think they should really be happy because they've got what all of us strive for, yet they really seem to be missing something. Do you find that as well, that even if you've got it, I think you mentioned before, you're still chasing more?
Right now, are they happy or do they just have things? Because what Jon and I have discovered over our life here is that things temporarily can appear to make you happy, but that real happiness comes from within. The sustaining happiness comes from within.
One of the, and time is running out, we're going to have the Possibility Coaches back with us on the program. Possibilitycoaches.com is their website. Again, the weekend is coming up November 1st through 3rd. I mentioned that. If you mention to them you heard it on the radio, they will give you a discount. You can also go to the website and get a free report, Breaking the Chain of Emotional Pain. One of the tips, and this may sum up sort of everything, if there was one that you go, okay, maybe this is sort of the key to remember out of the book, become acquainted with who you truly are today. How many of us, and I think, Jon, you were talking about that, how many of us really know who we are or allow ourselves to know who we are?
Or take the time to know who we are.
Oh, yes, exactly.
If I was ventured to give you a number, I would say less than 3% of our society, truly. And to get to know yourself requires you to stop what you're doing, to slow down. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate truth is that we're living in a manic society where people are going in warp speed. Right. And the only way to truly get to know yourself is to be with yourself. That requires spending time with yourself. And most people do not spend alone time with themselves.
Well, I was just going to say, you find people that really try to avoid being alone or quiet time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because many people are afraid what may come up during the silence. And that's what really needs to be addressed is what is being hidden by all the chaos and the busyness.
Chris, we got about a minute left in the program. Another one that I wasn't really joking when I said I got 365 ideas I want to talk here because all of these are so good. Make a decision today for you, by you. The key to this is listen to your heart. We're all told to be so analytical in our thinking. Do we miss a lot in life by not listening to our heart?
Absolutely. The heart never lies. The heart is where your intuition is. And every decision that you run by in your life, you want to run it by your heart because your head will try to analyze everything. And a lot of times your head will analyze you right out of an opportunity, but your heart and keeping your heart open will always give you a really true answer for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Jon, do you find that we do overanalyze it? We sometimes make things more complicated than they need to be.
Oh, absolutely. We really do. And I joke around with people that I spent the first 40 years of my life in the left side of my brain. And I'm a reformed left brainer. And for those who don't know the left brain is the analytical type. And of course, and my background, my education is in finance. So certainly I was analytical. The one thing I like to add to that in terms of coming from your heart, here's a little test you can do on your own, Rick. The next time someone asks you, perhaps your wife or someone close to you, asks you to be perfectly honest with them, before you answer, put your hand over your heart, and you will only speak the truth. This is 100% foolproof.
If I get in trouble, I can say, "But Jon made me do this."
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
exactly.
Jon made me say that. Okay, that words to live by, and there's so many in the book. 365 daily tips to get you there. Jon Satin, Chris Pattay, our guest on the program, the Possibility Coaches. The big weekend coming up November 1st through 3rd. Information at our website as well as their website, possibilitycoaches.com. Guys, it's been great having you on the program. I really want to have you back. A lot of great information in the book. Thank you for sharing that. It's been very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
allowing
so
us to
much.
share.
And again, the website, possibilitycoaches.com. You're listening to This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network.
You've been listening to This Week in America with Rick Bratton. And join us next time for another broadcast of This Week in America.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC, and nationally syndicated by Syndication Networks Corporation. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.